Hey there, everybody. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another really fun show we've got here for you. Co-starring Mr. Butch Jones,
Hello,
frequent guest
kiddies.
here, and constant on the Hudson Valley Squares on Monday nights. Butch and I are kind of doing a sequel to a show we did back in October, September.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
We did it.
Yeah.
We were outside, so it was
Right.
still somewhat warmish. Anyway, that was all about like those great kickoff album tracks. Well, today we're going to go the complete opposite. And how about those killer closing cuts? Those great songs that kind of finish off a kick-ass album in a really, really big way. And I'm looking at all my picks are from great albums. I'm sure there are really great closing tracks to kind of mediocre albums, but I think it makes more of an impact when you have a really strong album and then they kind of put that stamp at the end of the album and boom, just kind of like, really just kind of leave you with your jaw dangling on the floor to finish up an album and make you want to go back and listen to the whole thing all over again, right?
Exactly. Yep. Absolutely.
And as you can probably imagine, if you're someone who is an album person and follows classic hard rock, prog, and metal, there's a lot of great closing album cuts. And Butch and I were just joking before we went on the air that my list that I had before I started whittling it down was like almost 40 songs. And I said, you know what? I'm not looking at any more. I'm just going to take from what I got here and somehow whittle it down to 10.
Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to have Butch kick us off with his number 10, and I'm very curious to see what he's got.
Well, like you said, you and I both have a lot of music, So I mean, even if you didn't have a lot, just say you had 100 albums. Try to pick 10 out of that 100. So when you start getting close to 10,000, it's tough.
It's tough. Yeah,
it's painful. But my number, you know what? And it was one thing to pick 10 and then to try to put them in order. It's like I almost wasn't even going to do it. I'm like, okay, I think I got it. So my number 10 is from a little band called Angel, from On Earth as It Is in Heaven, album that I've talked about on the show before that I love. The very last song is called Just a Dream. I love Greg Giuffria as a keyboard player. He is, besides Keith Emerson, I would say he is my number 2. I mean, I almost want to say he's my number 1, but Keith Emerson has to be number 1. But Greg Giuffria just is so awesome on those first 3 Angel albums. And the way he ends it is so epic. The keyboards and Frank Domino's voice, the way that they kind of make it sound like it's a dream. And if you guys have never heard Just a Dream from Angels On Earth As It Is in Heaven, please check that out. That's a fantastic song and great closer.
Yeah, that totally is. It's a great choice. And I will echo Greg Giuffria as being a great keyboard player. I love his keyboard playing, even on the Giuffria albums. And he's like one of those guys that kind of just like went off and did other things. And we've kind of really missed him. I mean, it almost seems like we haven't had anything from him in so long. It's like you kind of almost take for granted how good he was on those Angel and Giuffria albums. And it's like, man, wouldn't it have been cool if he had more than that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the reason why I kind of, when I said 10 before, I'm going to pull one of my famous mulligans here. I've got a tie for number 10 because I had my 10 set in stone. And then I thought of another song and I'm like, oh yeah, that one. And I was like, well, I could just throw it in my honorable mentions. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I can do that.
Yeah.
So I was like, so I have a tie for number 10. I'm gonna pull a mulligan here. And again, like kind of Butch said, I'm not 100% sold on my order here. These are just some, like probably my 10 favorites. So yeah, I mean, any of these could be 1, 2, 5 or whatever. I love all these, pretty much equally. But sharing number 10, first of all, from this killer album, you cannot have Emerald in this list. And this Emerald was a late entry actually into here. I all of a sudden I was like, but wait a second, I'm like, oh, that's right. Because I'd almost forgotten that this was the final track on this album. And I'm like, because it's my favorite Thin Lizzy song. And I was like, well, yeah, that's perfect for this show. So Emerald is just such a great song. The riff is great. It's just epic sounding. It's so heavy. Yeah. Great song. And almost like kind of they don't kind of sound alike at all, but they have a similar feel to me. Big epic riffs and all that kind of stuff. And this might surprise some people. And it's just such a great song from a great album. It's also the title track, Medusa from Trapeze.
Ooh,
Just love it. I mean, Butch and I have an equal love for Mr. Glenn Hughes, and he just sounds amazing on here. And Mel Galley's thunderous guitar riffs on here. It's just doomy and heavy. So there's my tie for number 10, Emerald and Medusa from the wonderful 70s bands, the Double T's, Trapeze, and Thin Lizzy.
fantastic picks, man. That's for sure. That's for sure. Yeah, Hughes on that, man. God, Medusa, Jesus.
Great album. Yeah, it's a great album.
Yeah. So, happy bourboning to everybody. I never say that when I'm here drinking my bourbon all the time. So, happy bourboning, everybody.
Happy
And I
H-
did.
happy
I'm trying to
H-
trademark that term. I'm trying to trademark that term, bourboning.
Bourboning?
So, yes, that's my new term. So, I got to do it and drink. So, cheers.
Bourboning. Bourboning, beering, watering. I mean,
Yep.
watering we already know, right?
So, number 9 for me. Again, this is all this stuff is hard. It's fun, but it's hard. I'm trying to really get it here. So Judas Priest, Sin After Sin, Dissonant Aggressor. Sad Wings of Destiny is such a phenomenal, phenomenal Priest record. And then they did Sin After Sin, which I love, but it is a letdown a little bit from Sad Wings. There's some kind of filler stuff in there, the Let Us Pray and some of that stuff, and Last Rose of Summer and stuff. But man, they start with Sinner, and then they end with Dissonant Aggressor. And it was really cool years later to hear Slayer do their cover over, and they do a great job of that song.
They do.
But God, Dissonant Aggressor, man, talk about a way to end a record. That is Priest showing that they're here to stay.
Heavy. Yeah, that's a great choice. So I normally don't like to kind of give away my honorable mentions beforehand, but I think there's just so many great songs in my list and in my honorable mentions. So Dissonant Aggressor was actually one of my finalist choices, as well as Island of Domination. I mean, because both of those, right? And I was like, I ultimately didn't go with either one in my list, but both of them are in my honorable mention list. I love them both. I mean, it's so hard to just kind of, do 10 tracks. It really is, or 11 in my case, right? But yeah, that's a great one. I absolutely love that song. It's so heavy, ahead of its time. All right, my number 9, I went with Voodoo Child, Slight Return from Electric Ladyland from Mr. Hendrix. Again, another one I almost forgot. I'm like, I love the song, and that is a great way to end this. I mean, it's so epic at the end of this album. It's so heavy for Hendrix. It's a legendary song and one of the great album closers of all time. I mean, who doesn't? I don't know. I still get chills listening to that song. All these years later, heard it a million times, but I never get tired of it. So Voodoo Child, Slight Return from Mr. Hendrix.
That's a great one. Absolutely. I know that I love this band, but I don't know if you expected this. So so it's number 8. So my number 8 is from a little Canadian band called Rush. Natural Science.
I love Natural Science. Oh, yeah, that is a great choice.
God damn. And I saw them on that tour when I was a kid. I was 13, I guess, in 1980. And I know that they did. I don't remember, the whole set list or anything because, I was 13. But I do remember them doing Natural Science because I've gone back now and found bootlegs of the tour and everything. Man, that is an epic, great fucking song on an album that only has 6 songs. That's man. I love that song to this day.
And how heavy is it, and how kind of futuristic sounding it is, right? I mean, I love Alex's tone on that song. It's just so.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, I mean, that album is really, really strong. It's funny because I talked to had a lot of Rush conversations over the last year, especially since Neil passed. And a lot of people talk about how back in the day, they were a little bit disappointed with Permanent Waves, but now all these years later, you realize what a work of genius it actually is. And that, perfectly set the stage for Moving Pictures, I think. It kind of tied the earlier stuff with Moving Pictures, and it all makes sense. It's I think Rush did these great kind of bridge albums to their next kind of kind of era, so to speak, and that was one of them.
Yeah, I mean that record probably still to this day, depending on when you ask me, Permanent Waves and Hemispheres have been my favorite two Rush albums since they came out. So it's 1A, 1B. But man,
Yeah.
I love that record.
I mean, Farewell to Kings, Hemispheres, Permanent Waves, Moving Pictures. Does it get much better than those four?
No,
And I'm not discounting, 2112 or Signals or Caress of Steel, which I love them all. But those four, I mean,
yeah,
that's kind of like the pinnacle Rush right there, right?
yep, absolutely. That's all you need.
Yeah.
Honestly.
All right, for everybody watching, they're probably waiting. Well, Pardo's probably going to mention Black Sabbath at some point in time. I will say though, a lot of Sabbath albums, there's a few that have some really good closers. I don't know if any of them kind of match up with this one for me, and it's Fairies Wear Boots from Paranoid.
Ooh.
Yeah, right. I was almost wanting to pick something else, and then I kept coming back to this, and I'm like, man, Fairies Wear Boots is just so powerful, so dramatic, so heavy, and again, it kind of really closes out this album in a real bang. It's also kind of a weird fucking tune, right? Also, and I just think it totally works, and it's just this haunting, big, heavy, doomy track at the end of this album. And yeah, Fairies Wear Boots, I still love it to this day. A lot of this album, this is the album that got me into Sabbath and really got me into heavier music, even more so than Kiss.
Yeah.
But a bunch of these tunes I like, I've heard a million times, and that's why I don't play this album too much anymore. But I could still listen to Fairies Wear Boots and get totally jacked by it.
Yeah.
So there you have it.
I have to admit, I totally thought you were gonna, when you said Sabbath, I had in my head a different song, so you got me off guard. I didn't expect that.
Well, I'll throw it out there right now. The ones that I was thinking of Spiral Architect from Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. I was thinking of Under the Sun. Okay. And I was thinking of Into the Void.
Oh, no, see, the song I was thinking was none of those three.
So which one were you thinking?
Lonely Is the Word.
Oh yeah, you know what? I looked at that album as well, and I love that song. I don't know. When I was thinking Sabbath, I wanted to think of something heavy with a real big impact. Yeah. And that's like, I love that song. And I think it's got, one of my favorite guitar solos from Tony, and it's powerful and, melodic. I decided to go in another direction though.
There you go.
It's awesome, right? Yeah.
Great pick. So number 7 for me is another British band. Absolutely my favorite album from this band, 1983, Saxon from Power and Glory, The Eagle Has Landed.
Oh, great choice.
Holy shit, you talk about an epic song. Oh my God. Nigel Glockler on drums on that record. Holy shit, he just destroys on that album, and especially that song. That's one of those driving in the car air drum songs for me. Man, oh my God, I love that song so much. It's so, and it's really kind of like a departure for Saxon, especially at that time in '83, to have an epic song like that. I mean, I guess maybe that was 1 p.m. too, and which also could have, but that was epic as well. But man, The Eagle Has Landed, goddamn.
And the final like 30, 40 seconds of that song.
Oh.
With Graham just doing those wild solos, and Biff, it's just so moody and kind of atmospheric, and very different pacing of a song compared to a lot of their other stuff. I love that track. That's a great choice. I didn't see that one coming. But that's a good one. I'm just pissed that I didn't think of it. So, all right, where are we? Number 7.
7, yeah.
All right. Yeah, this one was kind of like a no-brainer for me. It has become, in more recent years, one of my favorite Zeppelin tunes. And it's, I knew I had to have Zeppelin on this list, and I originally was going to go to When the Levee Breaks, but then I'm like, oh, wait a second. No. Bring It On Home from the second album. I absolutely love that song, man. It's just so big and boisterous, and it's got that one of my favorite Page riffs on there, and nice and long and bluesy and heavy. Absolutely love it. And it's, for me, again, another one, kind of like Paranoid, another one of those albums that I don't listen to that often anymore because I've heard so much of it so many times. But I can skip right ahead to that final track and totally get into it anytime. So Bring It On Home.
It's funny because I was thinking about Zeppelin too. You think of all your favorite bands and bands that you love. It's like, okay. And I thought of a song. I'm like, and well, it's not even technically, because it's the last song of the side, but it's not the last song of the album, which is Kashmir.
Yeah.
But this is the last of side one, vinyl wise. So it's not really the last song. So I'm like, oh, that doesn't
It's a
qualify.
double album. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So yeah, there went that.
Yeah.
So number 6 for me, you knew this was coming at some point. Had to get Ronnie in there. So, and even for me, even more importantly, as everyone hears me talk about Vivian Campbell, shit. I mean, this record right here was I would honestly say the most important album of my teen years. The Holy Diver was the pinnacle of everything. I learned so much on guitar from Viv, and I'm so happy that I've had the opportunity as an adult because I met him when I was 15, to meet him as an adult and go back and tell him. It's like, you don't understand what this album meant to me as a kid, and I learned so much. And I told him, he's like, I learned how to do pinch harmonics from you. And he told me, he's like, that's great, because I stole them from Rory Gallagher. I learned them from him. So
Yeah, of course.
but it was so cool, just to have the opportunity to tell someone that they, whatever they did meant so much to you. But that song, I mean, that album to me is Desert Island Disc. But the way it ends, and then whatever he says at the end that everyone's trying to figure out what he says, like the little backward thing at the end, is that record. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That song is just, it's almost like at the end of it, you're like, oh, like you're so tired from the epicness, from Stand Up and Shout to that. And it's just like, oh my God, you're exhausted, but in a great way.
Yeah.
And so, so Shame on the Night for me, man, that's my number 6 without a doubt.
And to me, Shame on the Night is kind of like, it almost could have been on Mob Rules.
Yeah.
Got that big, heavy bottom, heavy doomy vibe to it, which I just absolutely love. And yeah, it's a great, that actually, it's funny because, Butch and I know each other a long time, and I think we pretty much know what each other likes quite a bit. And I was 100% positive that will be on your list. It's in my honorable mentions. And I say, you know what? Just because I'm going to omit it from my top 10, because we could both talk about it, but I'd rather you have it on your list. It's on my honorable mentions. I love that. That was also one of my, when I was putting this list together, that's one of the first albums I went to. I said, yeah, Shame on the Night's got to be on here somewhere. And then I'm like, I know Butch is going to pick it. So, all right. Well, I'm going to change gears a little bit here and move away from the heavy stuff. This is one of my all-time favorite prog albums from probably my all-time favorite prog band. And this is a big, long-ass tune, 20 minutes. It's just absolutely epic. It's got all sorts of twists and changes, and Peter Gabriel just does an amazing job on this song. It's Supper's Ready from Foxtrot. It's probably my all-time favorite, like, epic track from a prog band. Like, it's so many bands, like ELP did Tarkus, and Yes did a lot of big long tunes, but I think my favorite out of all of them is probably Supper's Ready. And it tells this really good story. Musically, it's just amazing. Got some great guitar work from Steve Hackett, Tony Banks, all these great keyboards, and of course, Collins and Rutherford and Gabriel's, multifaceted vocal style. But I love Supper's Ready. It's one of my favorite songs from Genesis, and it's what a great big closing statement on this.
Yeah.
For me, an amazing album. So that's my number 6.
Yeah, I know you're no, that's your number. Is that 7? No, you're right. Is that 6?
6, yeah. Wow, we're blowing this.
Yeah, 6. Jesus Christ, we're rolling threes, aren't we?
We are.
So number 5.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I hate this thing.
I'm looking at it, I'm like, how the hell did I forget that one? Yeah.
Title track, Diary of a Madman. The last song we got to hear from Randy Rhoads was the most epic last song you could get from a guy that was unfortunately died a year later. But man, he crammed. Jesus. Talk about a way to go out as a legend. The last song on the album packs everything you were trying to get out to the world in that one song. All the classical stuff. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's the term brilliant is meant for that song. That is a brilliant song, brilliant performance. Randy just, man, God damn, Randy just crushes on that song.
Yeah, that's a fantastic choice. I can't believe I forgot that one. That to this day, that is still my favorite Ozzy
Oh,
song.
that's a magnum opus right there, boy.
Yeah. Now, could you just imagine, based on what we heard in that song and a good portion of that album, if he lived and they did another one?
The next one. Yeah, exactly. What would have been?
What would have been? What if? Right? One of the biggest what ifs in metal.
Yep.
All right, so here's a great one, and this to me is almost a perfect album, made even that much better with this final track. Um, Astronomy from the Mighty Blue Oyster Cult. Love it. This whole album is just so like kind of like spooky and moody and heavy and little bits of psychedelia, little bits of prog, and Astronomy is just this majestic, haunting track with probably one of my favorite Buck Dharma guitar solos of all time. Definitely one of their better songs. They got a lot of really great songs. Definitely a top song from them on an album that's so amazing. It's my favorite BOC album, and I just love the way it kind of ends that album.
Is it really? That's your favorite?
This is my favorite BOC album. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So there you have it. Astronomy from BOC.
Buck Dharma.
Yeah.
You know, I love him.
Yep.
That guy has a special spot in my heart, man, since I was a little kid. There's something about him, man. He was awesome. Well, everybody that's been watching me on these things for a while knows that this man is going to show up at some point. So, Edward, I am not good at trying to get this thing framed.
It's hard. Yeah. No, you gotta tilt it. Yeah.
I know. I need to take it out of the stupid thing. That's what the thing is. So, On Fire is my number 4. I don't even know if I even need to say anything. Again, just like I was saying about Shame on the Night, the record starts, you're exhausted going through. It's like sonically, what am I hearing? What is this guitar player doing? I don't understand. And, you know, and then song after song, you're just being assaulted, just sonically assaulted, left and right. What the fuck is this guy doing? And then you get to On Fire, and you're like, holy shit. And oh, that's, man, that is, talk about a way to end your debut record. Forget the end of an album. It's your debut to the world, and you're like, here, deal with this.
Deal with it.
Holy
It's a great way to put it. Yeah, it's a great way to put it.
Oh, Edward. And, you know, we're filming this the day after Edward's birthday, would have been the 66th birthday, and also Wayne Gretzky's birthday. So there's my Gretzky thing as normal.
Right. Right over your left shoulder, right?
Yeah, all over. Always.
That's a good pick. Yeah, I had a feeling you'd have some VH on there somewhere.
Oh, have to.
All right. My number 4, another like beloved album by me, and a pretty epic album. Only 3 tracks on this album. And the closer is actually the shortest of the 3. It's still about, I think, like 10 minutes long. But, you know, the ones that came before it are, you know, big, long, and epic. I'm talking about Siberian Khatru. I mean, that haunting Rick Wakeman mellotron at the beginning. Dun, 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 and you I mean, it's just such an amazing song, and it just kind of takes you on this, like, you know, topsy-turvy ride through the entire track. It's just so good. It's my favorite Yes song of all time, as well as the closer to my favorite Yes album. So yeah, I just absolutely love Siberian Khatru. Never get tired of it. And what a way to, because, you know, this album starts over Close to the Edge, which is this big mammoth epic. It's one of the greatest prog songs of all time. And then you have And You and I, which is lush and pastoral and gorgeous. And then you get Siberian Khatru, which is pretty up tempo and kind of rocking for Yes, but still really progressive and epic sounding. So yeah, that's my number 4, Siberian Khatru.
And I can't not say something here, because Chris Squire, who as I know you know, Chris Squire is my number 2 bass player of all time, and he just crushes on that song.
Yeah.
Oh my God. He like you said, after all the keyboards from Rick Wakeman, when he comes in with that bass, it's like, oh my God. It's like
That Rickenbacker, man. Oh, I
oh
love the sound of the Rickenbacker too. Yeah.
fucking Chris Squire. Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
God damn, I love that guy so much.
Yeah.
I love individualistic guys, and you hear that, you're like, oh. I mean, in being a guitar player for all these years, honestly, to this day, when I listen to Yes, all I hear is Chris Squire. I mean, Steve Howe is brilliant. I love Steve Howe, but whenever I listen to Yes, all I can hear is Chris Squire.
Yeah, and one of the great things about those early Yes records is that his sound is so upfront in the mix.
Yes.
And you know, the Rickenbacker has a very distinct sound. And it's another reason why I like a lot of the old Rush stuff, because Geddy, who Chris was his idol,
Yeah.
went for the same kind of thing. And that's one of the things that I always kind of, when I look at 70s Rush and 70s Yes, is you had that bass player who
Absolutely.
was so unique, and you heard them. Yeah, I mean, how many times have we talked in the last 30, 40 years about we can't hear the bass on that album? We can't hear the bass. Is there even a bass player on that album?
Yeah.
Not on those Yes and Rush albums, right? Not at all. And it's a pleasure to listen to, and you can't not help but hear it. And you can, like you said, you can listen to one of these old Yes albums and almost forget that Wakeman and Howe are doing what they're doing because you're so busy zoning in on Squire's bass.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
incredible stuff. Yeah,
That was a big loss, man. I love that guy so
yeah,
much.
yeah, yeah. Yes, indeed.
So we're on to number 3.
Number 3.
What else do I need to say? Black Rose, Thin Lizzy, 1970s. Oh my God, 79. Had a little brain fart there. Gary Moore shows why he was Gary Moore and why people loved him so much, and why he's a guitar pillar for me. That is the most epic Lizzy song ever. Phil gets to write about the whole Irish folklore and all that stuff. And I don't know if people know this or not, even though obviously there was Gary Moore and Scott Gorham playing both twin guitar on that record, which is phenomenal. But I don't know how many people actually realize this, but on the song Black Rose, there's 2 distinct guitar parts, which are 2 totally different sounding. Gary Moore plays them both. It's that the whole Celtic thing, because Gary Moore was from Belfast, so he's Irish, so he crushes that, man. That, oh God, Black Rose is just such an epic thing. And like you were talking before, the outro, just listening to Phil kind of like ad lib all these Irish, again, folklore. He mentions Van Morrison and all these other things, Kilcohen, and it's just, my God.
Yeah.
It's everyone, obviously, wearing my Phil shirt here, everyone knows how much of, well, not everyone, people know how much I love Phil, Thin Lizzy and Phil Lynott, and God, that's just it makes me smile just thinking about that song and just thinking about the end of it, because it's epic, but at the end of it, it just goes to a whole nother level, man.
Yeah.
Such a great song.
It is a totally great song. I think it's very cool we both have a Thin Lizzy classic in our list, because they both deserve to be here.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right. Speaking of a song that deserves to be here, I love this band, and especially this lineup, and I love this song. And again, it's a little different from a pacing point of view, but it's really epic sounding, really emotional. Love to Love. Mr. Schenker and Mr.
Sure.
Mogg and Way and Parker and Raymond. Yeah, I mean, Love to Love was a very different kind of song for them. Love those haunting keyboards and the great chorus. It's melodic. It's it's heavy in spots. It's got a rampaging Schenker solo in it. It's just everything that UFO did so well is in this song, and it showed that they could do something a little more on the emotional side, on the epic side. Call it what you want, hard rock, prog, whatever. It's just a great song, and it's one of their. I think you talk to most UFO fans, and they love this song quite a bit. And it's just such a great closer to this killer album. I mean, I could honestly, we talk all the time about like Desert Island Discs and all that kind of stuff. It's like, I think obviously, if you want to take one UFO album with you on a desert island, it's got to be Stranger Than the Night. But if someone says no live albums, you can give me yeah, exactly. And Butch and I will be talking about that in a week or so. Give me Lights Out, Obsession, and Force It, and I'm good to go right there. No Heavy Petting too, I think, and Finale. You know what? I'll take all of them. So that's gonna be a big satchel I'm bringing on that desert island, I think.
Exactly. I was prepared for this.
Yeah.
Great pick, great song.
Thanks.
And quintessential from Strangers. I mean, the version on that is just,
oh yeah, it's incredible. Yeah.
Well, kids, you know that this band had to show up, and to be quite honest, I could have used 3 songs from this band and 3 songs from another band, and I would have been 6 of my picks. So I had to pick one out of the 3 I would have used from this band, and Rhyme with the Ancient Mariner. How does that not show up on your list? That's the most epic of epic metal songs of all time. It actually, in 10th grade, as a sophomore in high school, it befriended me with my my English teacher, because I was a little troublesome in class. and
really?
and I no, never, right? and I told her, it's like, the Iron Maiden wrote a song, Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, about their poem, and she's like, she didn't believe me. So I brought my album in vinyl, because it was 1980 whatever, and I brought the album in and let her borrow it, and she had it for a few days and brought it back, and she's like, you know what? I really enjoyed that. They did a great job of the story and everything. So yeah, so I'll always remember that was a really cool moment when I was a kid. But Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner just is the most epic metal song of all time, as far as I'm concerned. It has to be on my list.
And it's a perfect end to that album, because that album has this kind of epic feel to it, based on, I think, the lyrical content and some of the arrangements, and that was the perfect way to end that album.
Yeah.
And it's funny, we'll get to Maiden in a minute, but I'm not going to give it away yet. My number 2, I had to choose this, because this is easily, I think, the heaviest song on either of our lists. And it's, this album is like, clocks in at what, like 29 minutes long. It's so intense. It's so.
Oh, I know where this is then. I know what it is.
You know who it is, right? I had to have it on here, and it's Raining Blood from Slayer, from the Rain and Blood album. I mean, for me, I always kind of put Postmortem and Raining Blood almost together as like a 1-2 punch to finish off this album. But man, Raining Blood is so absolutely crushing. And it's like, if you're not like breathless through the first like 21 minutes of this album, or 26 minutes of this album, they don't let up at all for the finale, and it just absolutely bludgeons you to death. And it's just it's one of the all-time great heavy, brutal closers. Raining Blood from Rain in Blood.
Absolutely. Again, back to my being exhausted at the end of the record. There you go. That ends you like, oh my God. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a great pick, man. Great pick. Absolutely. Well, can you guess what my number 1 pick is? It has to be Emerald. It has to be Thin Lizzy's Emerald. That song is, on the heavy side of things. There's been so many bands that have covered that song, because it's awesome.
Yeah, it is. It's awesome for
Just
they cover it because it's so cool. It's fun to play, and yeah.
Guitar playing, the story that Phil Lynott tells, because he was, as far as I'm concerned, one of the greatest storytellers in rock, definitely in hard rock and metal. I'd say he's without a doubt the best. But the story he's telling, and the epicness of the guitar, and all the guitar lines and the twang, oh my God. Yeah, there was never any doubt that the Emerald was going to be my number 1. That's just a brilliant song, and that's one of those songs that, like I said, it's been covered by so many different people, and I never get sick of hearing that song. It's just brilliant. I love it, without a doubt.
All right. Well, we could sit here and
set
hum the whole thing.
Up to be epic. Yeah, brilliant.
All right. Back to that Iron Maiden thing I was talking about. So for me, there were 2 songs that instantly came to mind when I was putting this list together, and both of them were Iron Maiden songs. You mentioned one of them. The other is off of this album.
Of
Hallowed
course.
Be Thy Name is legendary. And
Yep.
it's, you know, it's a real
What more can
shame.
you say?
Yeah, what more can you say? Other than the people who are trying to get the band to stop playing that live, I think really need to have their heads examined, because you can't, this is it's a legendary song by a legendary band. It's got to be played at every show they ever do, and it's one of the greatest, if not the greatest, album closers in my opinion of all time. It's just so epic, so powerful, and so heavy metal. Right? It's
Yep.
just it's everything. What was so great about that band early on, right, is right there in that song. It's just lengthy enough without being too long, and man, the arrangements, the guitar work, the drumming, the vocals, classic stuff.
The time changes, the signature time changes, going slow and build it up and back and forth. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
obviously, the honorable mentions, that was obviously, like I said before, there was 3 Maiden songs, and they go in a row. So it's Hallowed Be Thy Name, To Tame a Land, who honestly, To Tame a Land might personally be my favorite of the trio. So Hallowed, To Tame a Land, and Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. Because Peace of Mind is my favorite Maiden album of all time. There's something about that record, from opening with Where Eagles Dare with Nico saying, "I'm here, I'm the new drummer," to ending with To Tame a Land. Oh, brilliance. Again, I love that word, but it is it's absolutely brilliant.
That's true. That is true. All right, fire off some honorable mentions. Just throw them out there.
All right. Well, this hurt me to not get this in the list, I have to say, for sure. Rainbow from Rainbow Rising, Light in the Black.
That was the one. So Butch and I were talking before we went on camera, and I said, just before we dialed in together, I was like, holy crap, how did I not put that on my list? And I'm like, well, you know what? I'm not going to change my top 10, but it's my number one honorable mention, Light in the Black from Rainbow Rising. I'm like, how the hell could I, how did I?
It's hard.
Up, right?
Brilliant. Mike, again, I got to stop saying that word, but it's just amazing.
Yeah.
Here's one that I bet you guys didn't see, or you might not even thought about it. I'd love to see the comments and see if anyone else ever actually thought of this song. Suffer Me from Alcatraz.
Oh, good one. I was just listening to that.
Holy shit, this Yngwie and Graham Bonner are stellar on that. Yngwie plays his ass off on that song. People that think that Yngwie can only do the classical thing, but he does the classical mixed with blues, and oh my God, that is just.
And Graham is just killing it on that song as well.
Oh my Lord. Here's another one. Seasons, the last song from Badlands on the original, because they reissued it and put extra songs on it. But Ray Gillen and Jakey Lee, man, that is another great closer.
That definitely.
Here's one to go piggyback off of our show from last week. Paris is Burning from Dokken.
Oh, hell yeah.
Last song on Dokken's Breaking the Chains is live from Paris. I take it back. I don't know if it's from, I forget if it's where it's from. It might be from Paris, but I don't remember. But Paris is Burning. George Lynch just tears everyone a new ass on that record in 1982. Holy shit.
Yeah, that's a great song. Yeah.
Just torsion. And it wasn't even a Dokken song. That's an old Lynch song from his band. I think it was from his band Exciter. My God, just crushes on that one. So two more, I'm going to give you two quick ones. One that no one sees coming. I am a huge fan of the band The Babies. I've posted all over Facebook that when I was younger, for whatever reason, I thought that they were much more pop than they really were, maybe because they were called The Babies.
Yeah, terrible.
They were a great hard, on the cusp of being a hard rock band. I love that band. I have everything. The last album that they did, the last song, even though John Waite is known, as being a singer from The Babies, the last song on the last record is actually sung by Jonathan Cain, and it's called Love Won't Wait.
It's a good one.
It's a heavy song. It's got a vibe to it, man. That's one of those songs I when it comes on, I always have my stuff on shuffle. It'll come on and I'll play that song like 10 times in a row. It's something about that song. The vibe of that song is so badass. And the last song I have to talk about, because is always been very, very eerie to me since 1986. It's the last song on the last studio record from Thin Lizzy, Thunder and Lightning. It's the song Heart Attack.
Oh, Heart Attack is great.
It's
Yeah.
a great song. It's a great closer. But then when you 3 years later, because I was 83 and Phil died in 86, when you listen to that song after he died and listen to what he's saying in that song, Mama, I'm dying, and the song's called Heart Attack, so he died. I don't know if he died necessarily of quote unquote a heart attack, but I know he died from complications of pneumonia. So I wouldn't be surprised, but just the lyrical content of what he's saying on the last song that was ever released of a studio song from Thin Lizzy, it makes it even more epic. That it's called
Yeah.
Heart Attack, and everything he's saying, that it's like he was kind of being, you know, seeing ahead of time what was going to happen to him.
Yeah, it's chilling and it foreshadows it. Yeah.
Yes, the foreshadow is the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
It's I love the song on its own, but just when you, like I said, I had heard it before he died, and then when he died and you go back and listen to it, you're like, oh my gosh. So yeah, those are, I mean, those are a handful of, the extra show we could do of just nothing but honorable mentions.
Yeah, exactly. I'll rattle off a few as well. Magnum Opus by Kansas from Left Overture.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah, that was in my original top 10, and things were moving all over the place. Strange Ways from Kiss from Hotter Than Hell. Absolutely love that. It's it's one of those songs that nobody talks about, right? I love it.
Great A song.
Absolutely. I Love the Dead from Alice Cooper. Space Truckin' from Deep Purple from Machine Head. Gotta have that. Highway Song from Blackfoot.
Ooh,
On that note,
yes.
how about Green Grass and High Tides from the Outlaws? Another great one. In the Name of God, as well as Learning to Live from Dream Theater. Images and Words and Train of Thought. La Villa Strangiato from Rush. Right?
Yep.
And let's see, Inside Looking Out by Grand Funk Railroad, another really good one. And I had to mention a couple from the Doors because, man, they ended every album. The End, When the Music's Over, 5 to 1, and Riders on the Storm, as well as the Soft Parade. Every album they ended with this big, epic, great kick-ass song. So that's a couple of mine. Wind Up by Jethro Tull, too.
I want to throw one more in because nobody's going to ever see this coming. And I want to mention his name on video because I love his guitar playing. And I have to also throw this in because I found out about this guy because of John Sykes. So there's my John Sykes thing. I'm consistent. John Sykes used to talk about him in the interviews, and I heard the name, and I'm like, oh, if he's talking about him as an influence, I got to go find out more about this guy. Bebop Deluxe, Bill Nelson, who is a phenomenal guitar player. The last song on my favorite Bebop Deluxe record is Sunburst Finish. The last song is Burning Apostles.
Oh, good one.
And he tears it up on that song. So I just want to throw that out there as an extra honorable mention.
Nice. Very cool. Yeah, I love Bebop Deluxe. Great band.
Yeah.
Really different. And what a guitar.
Yes.
Oof, what a player. Very cool. Well, there you have it, guys. A whole bunch of really cool album closers from myself. And I dare all of you watching to put together your top 10 list of album closers. Good luck.
10. Don't 10, do right? 30 and 40 like I see all these comments. Oh, you guys did 3. Here's 25. No, it's tough. You have any idea how hard and how much this hurts me to do 10? If I have to do 10, you can only do 10. No 25 and 30, but you can do 5 extra honorable mentions. I'll give you that. So you can do 10 and 5 honorable mentions. That's it.
Those are the rules. Everybody play nice. Right? So this was fun. This was difficult and fun, yes. And it just it really makes you realize how many great album closers there are. Whether the bands did it that way on purpose or that's just the way it turned out. But there's a hell of a lot more that we probably didn't even mention. So that's why everybody else comes in now. All of you viewers, that's where you come in. So which other great ones did we not mention here on the show that Butch and I can go like, oh yeah, holy shit, I can't believe
We'll have to do a part 2.
Yeah, we might have to, right? You never know. You never know. So maybe the next one will be, well, what's that best middle track, right? Is there such a thing?
Yeah.
Age there is one, not in the LP days.
The first song of side 2.
Yeah, something like that. Or the best bonus tracks of all time, right?
There you go.
Bonus tracks. I don't know. We're reaching. So
You're
anyway,
reaching.
guys, thanks for joining us here. Visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. Tune in for Butch and myself and the rest of the Hudson Valley Squares this coming Monday night for another really cool show. And stay tuned tonight. We've got another edition of the Monsters Den. Martin Popoff and I are doing a show tomorrow morning, Friday Morning Apocalypse with Popoff and Pardo. Rich Catino and I are doing Candlemas this weekend. Lynn Versace's coming on Sunday morning. All sorts of stuff happening this weekend. So stay tuned for all of it and more. For Butch Jones, I am Pete Pardo. Good night, everybody.